The most well-known solar storm was the Carrington Event in 1859, when the Earth sustained a direct hit, which produced an aurora as far south as the Caribbean.
On the 1st of September 1859, two solar flares, both larger than all our planets in the solar system combined, erupted. It caused a huge geomagnetic storm on Earth and rained havoc to all their basic electronics all around the world. The flare eruptions were so large that British astronomer Richard Carrington saw these flares through his telescope. Auroras could be seen in Cuba, Colombia and Hawaii. The amateur scientists' records of the storm gave it the name it has today, the Carrington Event. It remains the world's largest solar storm on record. Some cases were reported that telegraph workers even disconnected their equipment, but there was still power flowing through the circuitry up to 2 minutes later. Again, just to reiterate, there was no connected power at all, wireless power. So what would happen if this happened in today's digital age?
A super flare in our own solar system, killing every living organism on the planet.
And in a couple of words, it would take us back to the Stone Age. Right, so that must be why the ultra-rich are building bunkers all over the world.
Vivo's X Point is billed as the largest private shelter community on Earth.
Yeah, that's about right. The Carrington Event was a day when a ferocious solar flare from the sun engulfed our planet. So what if this savage phenomena were to reoccur today? We are deeply intertwined with technology. From vast power grids to sophisticated satellites, our advanced infrastructure is paradoxically highly susceptible to solar storms. And another Carrington-like event could cause widespread disruption to telecommunications throughout the world. So what led to such a monumental cosmic event? What atmospheric conditions on the sun gave birth to solar flares and coronal mass ejections? I'm sorry to say, but we should brace ourselves for a when, not an if, this is going to reoccur. Therefore, our readiness and resilience becomes our most important tool.
Here's a look at the sun on December 29th. It's a unique viewpoint that NASA satellites provide. It may look quiet, but it's certainly not. We are nearing the peak of the 11-year solar cycle for our sun, which is the standard process when the sun's poles actually flip positions.
The world is poised to experience a solar storm like no other.
Fortunately, solutions exist already to help us from these sun explosions. From fortifying power grids to critical structure against their force to engineer backup systems and redundancy plans. There are so many preventative strategies, we just need to put them into place. Preparing for another coronal mass ejection involves understanding the potential impacts and taking steps to mitigate those risks. The first thing you might well see is power outages. A large-scale CME could potentially cause long-term power outages. So stock up on water, non-perishable foods, harvest rainwater, I'll get into that in a minute, and other essential supplies.
And then under my workbench here, I just keep our toilet paper.
Having a backup power source like a generator or a solar charger and ensure that your devices are fully charged. I remember my dad had a petrol generator back in the early 90s and he was so proud that he could work out that it could power 3 lights and a few cups of tea. This was before, so it was a bit more inefficient, but he was really proud of it. But here you ask, won't the grid, won't that suffice? Bear with me, I'll come back to that in a bit. Protect electronics.
Be found at your local hardware store. And what I like about these is that you can fit a lot of stuff inside of them, including mid-sized solar power options.
Store important electronic devices in a little Faraday cage or other shielded enclosure to protect them from electromagnetic radiation. Yes, a lot of cables are built with shielding, but depending on severity of the CME, a Faraday cage is absolutely the best solution. Having said that, Faraday cages are very expensive and, well, certainly if you were to store your car in one, for instance, so that could be a bit problematic. Those fancy electric cars we've been buying, all fried, completely fried. Well, actually, that's slightly unfair. All cars will be fried because they all have electrical components within them and batteries as well, so they're all fried. So if you want transportation, we're all pretty much screwed for that. Stay informed. Follow reliable news sources, space weather websites, and official government communications for updates about solar activity. But how you do this without power supply, I'm not certain. Even if you had a fully charged laptop, your modem probably won't be working. And if your modem isn't working, you'll probably think, oh, that's okay, I'll just go on to 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G, whatever G it will be at that time. But they will probably won't be working either. So I don't quite know how you stay in contact with people. Wind-up radios. Wind-up radios could work. And maybe solar radios, if they exist. I don't know if they exist. Oh, they do exist. Great. Regularly back up important data on devices that are not connected to the internet. This could protect your data in case of large-scale disruption or electronic systems. And again, Faraday cage. Communication plan.
One of the most important things that a prepper is going to need, he's going to need the ability to communicate.
In case of a significant event, communication systems will 100% be affected. Have a plan to stay in touch with family and or friends, such as using walkie-talkies or setting a physical meeting point if it's safe to meet outside. Or better yet, if you're really rich, build a bunker. Speaking of which, financial preparedness. Ensure you have some cash at hand as electronic banking systems may be affected. Cash might well be king, but as The Living Dead and any post-apocalyptic film has taught us, it might be completely worthless. Either way, Apple Pay, not gonna work. Build a bunker.
Well, howdly doodly, neighbors. Shouldn't you be in your shelterinis by now?
Whilst it's true that these individuals may want to be prepared for any potential disasters or crises, ranging from natural disasters like earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, to societal disruptions like political unrest, economic collapse, or global threats like nuclear war or coronal mass ejections. Or another pandemic, of course, I forgot about that. There's a subset of people sometimes referred to as doomsday preppers who believe that a major catastrophe is likely or inevitable.
Possibility of an EMP is at the front of a lot of people's minds right now.
These individuals often build bunkers to ensure their survival in such an event. They can store water, food, and live relatively comfortably. The interesting thing about these bunkers is, if built correctly, they could be huge Faraday cages, which can keep a select amount of people happy and healthy. All while us minions need factor 5000 sunscreen and have no access to WhatsApp. Can you afford a bunker? Let me know in the comments. And even if you can't afford a bunker, tell me what you'd have in it. I think I'd probably have a games room. No, would it be a games room? No, I'd probably have... What room would I have? A snug to get away from the kids, because it'd be quite intense in there. A larder. See, now I'm just thinking about The Shining, and I probably shouldn't be. Community preparedness. If perhaps you're getting a bit claustrophobic in your luxury bunker, work with your local community to prepare a collective response plan. This can include strategies for sharing resources and supporting vulnerable members of the community. So what are the chances of this happening again? Well, you'll be glad to hear that most CMEs don't actually get to Earth. They certainly don't hit Earth. However, it is genuinely agreed by scientists that it's just a matter of time before it does happen again. A study published in the journal Nature Communications in 2019 estimated the likelihood of a Carrington-like event occurring in the next decade to be between 1 and 2%. To mitigate these risks, it's important to monitor solar activity, improve our ability to forecast space weather, and take steps to harden infrastructure against potential impacts. Even small steps can make a huge difference when it comes to you protecting your family. But the one thing I recommend to absolutely do is to harvest water. We looked at water here, and even though we potentially say that it might be toxic, I prefer to drink that type of water than to die.